at the BPUB Administration Building for the Finance Committee. We do have a quorum of the committee. So I do call the meeting to order. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
No public comments. I'd like to take something out of order on the agenda. We'd like to have recess into, or go into closed meeting. Okay, so at this time, the items on the agenda designated for a closed meeting will be considered. If there is an approved motion to go into closed meeting, the listeners will be placed on hold until the board returns to open meeting. We have one item, consideration discussion pursuant to section 551.086, competitive matters, and 551.071, attorney consultation regarding commercial utility account billing matters. So do I have a motion to go into closed?
Motion? Yeah, I motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to go into closed. Thank you. Okay, it's 1:29, and we are going back into open session here. We'll continue with our regular agenda. The regular agenda, item number 1, presentation discussion of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board financial performance report for the period ending June 30th, 2026. David?
So, good afternoon, Chairman Villarreal and members of the BPUB Finance Committee. I'm David Medrano, and I will be presenting a high-level overview of our financial performance for 2026 through the period ending June 30th, 2026. First, I would like to introduce our new CFO, Justin Locke, who recently joined on Monday. Justin and I have worked together before. He's worked at BPUB before, and he served as a CFO in multiple utility, gas, water, and power utilities across the country. And we welcome him back, and grateful we have a extremely qualified CFO. Do you want to say anything, or? Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this first slide is a executive summary dashboard of some financial categories. Green is set to represent that we are at or above expected performance. Yellow is an area that we're not quite on target, but we are continuing to monitor through the end of the year and hope to be in the green by the end of the year. And then red is obviously an area that needs more attention. We are happy to point out that there's no red in today's report out. So the first category is the flow of funds. So adjusted gross revenue came in lower due to lower actual revenue than what we had anticipated or budget to recover from fuel and purchased energy costs in June. So year to date, we have 3.451 million has been generated to replenish the improvement fund. Additionally, the debt service coverage is at 1.91 times, which is well above the 1.25 minimum that is required by the bond ordinance. Next is the fuel and purchase energy charge, which has generated an over recovery of 20.53 million as of June, which is currently being used and will continue to be used to offset further market volatility. In June, the FPEC rate was 3.650 cents per kilowatt hour. We started the year with a level or a balance of 25 million, and we've drawn down about 5 million to help offset increases in customer bills. The next category is the City of Brownsville transfer, which is higher than budgeted due to a lower FPEC rate. So when we see that FPEC is lower than budget, what that generally means is that production costs were less than what we had budgeted. And that generally means that difference goes into a higher adjusted gross income or revenue, which is the metric that we use to base and calculate the City of Brownsville transfer. The next category is personnel and non-personnel expenses, which came in lower than budgeted, primarily due to current vacancies and generally timing issues. And this is shown a little bit more in detail in slide 15 through lines 8 through 12. Next is VPB's average electric bill is lower than the average MOU bill and the average IOU bill per 1,000 kWh. It was $97.57 in June, and that was comprised for a customer service charge of $6.94, base rate charge of $54.13, and the fuel purchase energy charge of $36.50. Next, we have the capital improvement plan year to date, actuals and committed. Totals were $40.9 million, and 29.7 million respectively, which represents approximately 78.7 million of the fiscal year 2026 approved plan. And this is further noted in column F and I of slide 10. The good news is that all key financial metrics are in compliance, and I'll show that on the next slide. For debt service coverage, we again are at 1.91, so we're better than what we are required to maintain coverage at. Days cash on hand is significantly more than the industry standard. The outstanding debt, well, that's what we see. That's currently what our needs are. Bond ratings are very favorable. We hope to improve that over time to lower our financing costs. And we're glad Justin has joined us, which will help us think through how best to do that and better serve to lower rates to our customers. Debt to capitalization is on par with the municipal utility median, and all our reserves are fully funded. This next slide is the revenues and expenses and changes in net position. And this one has been prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. Operating revenues, these are further detailed as line items 1 to 5 on slide 15, came in at $158,560,864. We've got operating expenses through June of this year, the detail of which is further noted in lines 7 through 12 of slide 15. And those came in at $139,924,391, which leaves us with an operating income of $18,636,473. From that, we deduct net non-operating expenses, and these are detailed as line items 15 through 21 on your slide 16. And these came in at $12,611,093. That leaving us with an income before capital contributions of $6,025,380. To that, we add the capital contributions through June 30th of this year of $16,510,360, leaving us with a change in net position of $22,535,740. To that, we add the net position at the beginning of the year, fiscal year, of $510,826,541, leaving us with a net position at the end of the year, or at the end of this period, of $533,362,281. And you can see on this slide the comparison year over year. The next slide, which is our flow of funds, has been prepared in accordance with the bond ordinance. And the first line item here is operating revenues. And we are showing quite a bit a variance between budget to actual. But the good news is that for our estimate through the end of the year, we will be on par or slightly different from the budget as far as base rate revenues by about 2 or 3%. So that's the good news. As far as the remaining difference, it is really related to a lower than expected recovery of fuel and purchase costs. But that is not necessarily anything to worry about, because what happens is to the extent that we don't collect those, recover those fuel and purchase cost through revenue, there's an offset on the expense side. So you'll see that between line 1 and line 4, there's roughly an 80% recapture of the lost revenue, because we don't have to pay for larger expenses on the fuel side. So the remaining delta between the 34 and 34.7 and 27 really relates to some fixed and semi-variable costs that we include in the FPEC cost allocation. And those we hope to unbundle from that and capture those in customer charges or demand charges or delivery charges where they're most appropriately kind of allocated. And those we've included in our upcoming redesign that we proposed that we hope to be able to implement in 2027. So the next item is other revenues, which came in at $17,966,319. I think I may have missed operating revenues. Those came in at $150,267,266, leaving us with gross revenue of $168,223,585. From that, we remove for fuel costs $39,888,709. We also remove the SRWA costs of $5,176,400, leaving us with or a total of $45,057,109 in expenses, leaving us with an adjusted gross revenue of $123,166,476. And what you'll see is between line 7 and line 14 is $12,316,000, which is 10% of the adjusted gross revenue, line 7. Next, we remove O&M and non-operating expenses of $80,442,703. Also, we remove debt service requirements of $22,392,181 for a total of $102,834,884 in expenses. Leaving us a balance available after requirements of $20,331,592. We also remove the City of Brownsville utility usage of $3.273 million, and also the actual cash transfer to the city of $9,043,549, leaving us a balance available for internal transfers of $8.214 million. From that, we remove the internal transfers already done through the a month ending June of $4.563 million, leaving us with a improvement fund replenishment balance of $3.451 million. We also have available, also repeat, the debt service coverage ratio of 1.91, which was more favorable than 1.89 that we came in at the end of last month. That is my presentation. If there are any questions or that you have for me, okay.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, item number 2, discussion and possible recommendation for the approval of the AspenTech OSI software modules term license agreement.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Finance Committee. My name is Elias Quintero. I'm the SCADA manager. This item is for a possible recommendation for the approval of the AspenTech OSI software. The software is what runs our SCADA system for the electrical side of our utility. The existing hardware and software went online in 2018 and we cut over in 2019. Part of that software that was supposed to have been installed at that time was the outage management software, which wasn't installed due to cybersecurity concern. This time around, the software is being upgraded, and we will include the OMS as part of that upgrade. However, as part of the upgrade that we're going through, we are requiring additional modules that had already been pre-planned, but now we bought them as part of the initial capital improvement, and we expect to go live with them in March 2027. The software modules that we are buying together with this upgrade are the Coronis Historian, which is an upgrade of the existing Historian, but due to the growth that we have with several substations that we're adding, and we added already, the existing base Historian is not enough, so we're upgrading to the professional style of Historian that comes with a module. So Coronis Historian is the first one. We also have the advanced metering infrastructure integration that goes to be able to integrate to the AMI system that we're installing as well. We have a Compass module that will allow mobile connections to our crews in the field, so that when they're in the field, we're able to dispatch the service request to them, and they'll be able to, in the field, see the OMS software and the tickets. They'll be able to respond and close out in the field as well. And then the last module is the AVL module, which is an auto vehicle locator module, which will allow our staff that's in energy control to see where the crews are at during an emergency, and they are able to pinpoint which crew is closer to an event, and they can assign those crews out there to those events as well. The term licensing cost for year one was included in the initial CIP to which we procured the upgrade. However, years 2 and 5 were designated to come later from a subsequent O&M budget. But due to recent accounting rules from GASB 96 that affects how we treat subscription-based information arrangements, these expenses are now being, that we have to reclassify them. Instead of O&M, they need to come from CIP funding. So again, year one was paid with the initial SCADA CIP. However, as years 2 through 4, or years 2 through 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5 need to be capitalized. So the first year we already have funding for, and we created a capital project for it, but we are requesting permission to assign additional capital funds for the upcoming years. And it requires a 4-year commitment so we can have these prices.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Questions? So is the request that you're just changing the accounting treatment, or but the overall project cost is going to stay the same?
Right, so the request is to have a commitment from the board to assign those the $239,000, because the pricing requires the 4-year commitment. I can't go year by year. I need to accept the commitment of 239, so it goes beyond what I can assign on a year-to-year basis.
Sure. But when did we approve, or did Maryland, did you approve the 239 as part of a capital expenditure? Or I just want to make sure I understand. I understand that we're going to capitalize it over that 5-year period, but on the total expense of 239, was that previously approved, or is that? Eddie, do you remember?
The way it works is typically the first year is capitalized as part of the project historically, and then the upcoming years are just paid on an ongoing basis. Because of the accounting change, we're now able to capitalize it.
Right.
So we're now bringing those forward. So.
I understand. But was the contract?
But they weren't. In other words, you can't approve upcoming O&M budgets. That's done on a yearly basis. So it's the difference in treatment that allows us to do this and make the commitment now.
Okay.
So I think what you're asking is, we have previously approved the O&M.
Project, except that we didn't have to approve the expenses in the future.
Okay.
Now that they have to convert that to capital, they're coming back and they're saying, I need
Correct.
commitment for the total amount. that
Okay.
they will include into the.
But it was always expected that we were going to end up paying the
Correct. The plan has
239,000.
not changed.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, item number 3, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation on the status update of fiscal year 2027 budget process and budget calendar.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee member. Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. We'll go over the FY27 preliminary proposed O&M budget. Beginning with this slide, on the left side, we just have some background information on the 3 utilities. Beginning with electric-based revenue represents 52.7% of the total base revenue. And historically, in the last 3 years, the average collections less than is 0.8%, or equals to 466,000. On the water-based revenue represents 24.4% of the total utility-based revenue, and the average growth the last 3 years 4.6%, equals to 1.5 million. And then the wastewater revenue, base revenue, representing 22.9% of the total utility revenue, which on the average, the last 3 years, 6.3% growth, equal to 1.9 on average. And then these 3, there's no rate, proposed rate changes for the next fiscal year, 27. On the right side, we have despite those rates, we able to maintain low rates. For example, on the electrical side, on the first block, we have the BUPUB lower than the IOU and the MOU. And then on the water side, the second block, we have the on the PUB on the bill per 1,000 gallons is lower than the valley and the state. BUPB 36.46. That was back in April when we did the analysis. Now, after the elimination of the resaca fee, the BP rate is at $30.21. The valley average 37.21 and the state average 55.09. On the wastewater side, BPUB 34.82. PUB being higher than the valley average of 32.69, but lower than the state average of 40.55. And as explained back then, there are several factors why those rates may be different. It can be the number of lift stations, the coverage area, and also some entities may not have the transfer to the general fund. On this slide, we have the proposed sources of funds, the revenues, totaling 256.3 million, beginning with on the right side, going clockwise on the blue portion. The main source of revenue, the electric-based revenue, 80.6 million. This is the fixed portion of the utility rate. Then we have the electric FPEC revenues, 80.2 million. This is the pass-through portion of the expenses of the fuel expenses on the water bill, on the electric bill. Then we have the water revenues of 37.4 million, wastewater revenues of 35 million, other revenues and non-operating revenues of 18.2 million, and interest revenue of 4.8 million. On the right side, the revenue highlights. Looking at the third bullet point, one of the key items here, the resaca fee is eliminated for FY27. Any resaca O&M expenses are funded from the transfer from the existing cash on hand from resaca funds. And then second to the last bullet point, there's a grant revenue that reduces the resaca fee funded expenses by 2.8 million for the Resaca de la Guerra Resilience and Restoration Project. Here we have the the uses of funds, the expenses. It's a balanced budget, so the same amount, 256.3 million. Beginning with the main, the top area, the O&M expenses, that's the main component of on the uses of funds, 118.2 million. On the right side, we have a breakout, what makes those, a breakout of those O&M expenses. Shown in yellow, the non-personnel, 45.2 million. The resaca fee funded O&M expenses, 3.7 million. This is the net of the total expense or resaca expenses, so 6.5 minus the grant revenue of 2.8. And then we have the proposed inflationary wage adjustment of 1.8 million, which is based on the 3.2 CPI as of June 2026. And then we have the personnel expenses of 67.5 million. Continuing on the left side, we have the other non-operating expenses of 700,000. Debt service fund, 29.6 million, which is the annual debt service for the long-term debt. We have the city gross transfer of 16.9 million. Available for transfer out, the 3.7 million. And again, also we have a breakout on the right side. We have the improvement fund, shown in green, in blue, 3.2 million. This is the improvement fund CIP funding. This is the transfer to fund those the CIP projects. And then we have the resaca fee transfer in. This is funds that are coming in from the resaca cash on hand of 3.7 million. And then the funding for the toll reserves, the power supply stabilization reserve of 2.2 million. And then the decommissioning reserve of $2 million. And then we'll talk about more on these two in subsequent slides. Continuing on the power supply cost, the 80.2 million, and that's the same amount that we have on the revenue side. And then the SRWA commitment of 6.9 million. Here we have the FY27 O&M personnel increases, decreases from FY27 approved budget. So the net increase is 3,086,497. This is the personnel side. So you look on the left side, we have the base, where we start the budget as the base, that being the FY26 approved budget as of 67.7 million. From here we start with the deductions. What did any decreases to that base amount? So one of the first items is the OPEB trust reimbursement. That reimbursement is anticipated to increase by 140,862. Now the full amount of the reimbursement is 848,000, and this is to reimburse PUB for the medical expenses for the for our retirees. Then we have other decreases on the dental, workers' comp, FICA, and Medicare. And then from here on, we have we show the increases beginning with long-term disability and other items, educational assistance, auto benefits, life insurance. And then overtime, on the overtime, 89,834, that also can be attributed to the as vacancies. We have vacancies. The workforce has to step in and spend extra time to accomplish those tasks that they need to complete. Then the next two items, those are mainly, that growth mainly attributed to the proposed cost of living increase. And TMRS, 239,336, and then wages, 1.4 million. And the last one, the medical insurance, that's the increases, the anticipated increases to the medical plan. Now, this number may change, more like it will change as HR continues to explore ways to minimize the impact to PUB and the employees. So we continue, that's an ongoing process. Total FY27 proposed budget, 70,849,491. This shows the non-personnel comparison graph. This shows on the first bar or column. We show the FY24 budget of 44.8 million. And then the number at the bottom, that's how we ended up the year. We ended up with 40.3 million, which is 4.5 million below the budget. And then for FY25, the budget was 41.4 million. And we ended up with the actual number of 41.5, or almost 300,000 below the budget. The approved budget for FY26, 43.3. The FY26 projections, we have a high and a low. The high, basically, we're applying the same differences as shown in FY25 between budget and actual. Based on that calculation, we would end up at almost 43 million. But then the low of 39.8 million, that's assuming a straight line calculation or estimate. Basically, expenses through June divided by 9 times 12, and that gives us that number. So as we're about to close the month of July, so hopefully by the end of the week, we should have a better estimate. Then the last column, we have the FY27 proposed budget of 45.2 million, which is a 4.4% growth over the FY26 approved budget. This is the non-personnel, similar as the other slide that we saw 2 slides ago. And this is the non-personnel side, showing the increases, decreases from the FY26 approved budget. The net increase of 3.7 million. On the left side, we have the approved budget of 43.6 million for FY26. This is the base budget. We start with the deductions to that amount on the 84,000 for the maintenance of general plant. And then below each classification, we have a description what's included within those expense types. Then we have also a reduction to miscellaneous general expenses. And then from here on, we have increases to purchase minor tools and equipment of 9,626, transportation expense, 211,625. And the main factor that drives this increase is the fuel component. And also the parts, but the main driver is the fuel component. Then we have the materials and supplies, 255,601. And here pretty much the only driver that increases is because of the chemicals for water plant 1 and 2. Office expenses, 603,884. This is basically on the expenses drivers, the endpoints for the AMI water meters. The 65,000 they're in the process of being installed, almost completed. The installation is almost completed. And then we have the consultants and outside services. And the increase of 952,556, this is the main driver of this increase is the vegetation management, which is to maintain the clearance on overhead lines, 375,000, and then the increases in software maintenance by 270,000. And then the last bar is the Resaca expenses, and this is mainly the local match for the Resaca de la Guerra Resilience and Restoration Project, of 1.7 million, which results in a total proposed budget of 47.3 million. This is just the summary of the combined summary of revenues and expenses. Looking at the last column, column F, this is the difference between column C and E, which is the approved budget 26 and the proposed FY27 budget. In line number 1, the decrease mainly attributed to the lower fuel production cost and also the elimination of the resaca fee. And then line number 2, we have the lower fuel production cost, which results in a lower, at line number 5, a lower adjusted gross revenue reduction by 3.8 million. Then line number 6, we have increases in the operating expenses, as explained before, mainly at the inflationary adjustment, medical plan adjustments, and increases to non-personnel expenses. Line number 10, the decrease of 9.7, and thus includes a reduction. This one anticipates a transfer from the resaca, a transfer in from the resaca to fund the O&M expenses, and also includes the reserve of 2.2 million for the power supply stabilization, the commission reserve of 2 million, and the improvement CIP funding of 3.2. The total line number 13, the debt service coverage of 0.70 times, which is still above the required requirement of 1.25 times. Here on this slide, we just show the transfer portion, the detail of the transfer portion from O&M to different reserves, or in this case, in some cases, the improvement fund. The improvement fund is shown on line number 4, showing from FY22 actual line number 4 of 7.3 million to a low of FY27, the proposal 3.1 million. Now, one of the things here to point out on line number 2 is that we're still analyzing perhaps to recommend the possible elimination, or at least changing the funding of this the power supply stabilization reserve. We may recommend funding that reserve through another mechanism, which we're still working on that, and we'll come back and propose what that will be. This is a scenario shows the proposed budget for FY27 as presented, and that is shown in column C. But also we're showing here a what if scenario. What if we revert back to showing by running the off-system sales expenses through the revenues and expenses? For example, if we add on line number 3, we add the off-system sales expenses of 17.4, then we would also add the off-system sales, the revenue, on line 1.1 of 24.4. Well, that will result in increases in the gross revenues, and also, of course, will result in an increase in the production cost of the fuel. Yes. Then the end result on this section would be the adjusted gross revenues will go up by almost $7 million, from 169.2 million to 176.2 million. Other changes will be the city gross transfer, shown on line number 9, will also go up by almost 700,000, shown on from 16.9 to 17.6. Also will result in for more funding for the available transfer to the improvement fund for CIP projects. And then the debt service coverage will also increase to from 1.70 times to 1.93 times. This is just a detail of the previous slide. And this is just selected increases to the non-personnel accounts, the top 4, and the AMI water meter system endpoints, 420,000. Software maintenance fees, 270,047. Chemicals for the water plant 1 and 2, 262,314. And then vegetation management, 300,000. Now, the next presentation will be at the board meeting on the 10th. And but we continue with GM's office and with the director. We continue looking at budget. So more likely we'll be continuing analyzing and identify savings and reducing the expenses as much as possible without the impact to operations. Any questions?
No, I mean, I think something that's kind of been consistent here that we've talked about it. I think controlling these expenses is critical. You're netting out Resaca expenses, O&M increase, I think, let's say actual to what we're proposing in our budget, is probably about an 8.5% increase, and inflation's only at about 3.5 to 4%. So the expenses are growing at, just this last period, if the actuals hold true, doubled at the rate of inflation. Some of the expenses are absolutely necessary. There's nothing we can do about it. But it's just important that we really look at every single line item. I know this is just the first reading, and I know you support this, but we really have to do is really look at our expenses. There's only so much we can do on revenues. It's more market driven. And I know expenses are going to go up at the rate of inflation, but when they go up over that, it's just kind of just the light bulb goes off and say, let's just make sure and absolutely that all those increases are needed and justified and vetted through the management. Okay? You have any questions? Thank you. Very good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on item number 4. Discussion and possible recommendation for the approval of the yearly BPUB IT computer replacement program.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Jose Luis Lopez Jr. I'm the IT hardware manager, and I'm here to present the, it's going to be real brief, the computer replacement program for the year. Basically, what we do is we have a 5-year program already established here at PUB. Every 5 years, we recycle a set of PCs, laptops, devices that the users use. The devices that we're currently going to replace are Dell, and they're no longer supported by the manufacturer. Warranties are out of warranty. All the end users are having issues with them regularly. We have a complete inventory of all the devices, and based on their year that we purchased them, that's the amount of PCs that we replace. The funding for this is every year is located in the annual O&M budget. It's part of the CFO's and the Director of Finance budget, and it's allocated every year for hardware and software. There's 2 accounts there that we use to purchase this equipment. This year, we're going to replace a total of 115 devices, just to continue with the 5-year program and to provide reliable, supported, secured computing across the organization here at PUB. So here I'm asking just for the consent, for it to go to the consent item in the next board meeting.
Any questions? I have one question. What do you do with the old equipment?
The old equipment, again, we do an inventory of it, and then there's a recycling company that we use here across the street, and we take all our equipment and we have it destroyed. All our hard drives, they're securely inventoried, and we they're shredded, just so none of our equipment shows up at local computer shops, flea markets, things like that. So all the equipment is taken off site by a vendor, provides complete reports, and they have all the necessary requirements to destroy that equipment. Any other questions?
And when you went through this bid, through what process? Through? Okay, very good.
Yeah, just as a note, the reason we shred the equipment is to make sure that no customer information or confidential information is accidentally released.
Sure. Okay. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve and put this on the consent agenda for the Board of Directors meeting?
I have a motion to put in the consent for the meeting.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I guess just going through the agenda, I may have missed this, but just for, I guess, the record, there was no action taken in our closed meeting. Okay. And any requests for future agenda items? Nope. Nope. Okay. Motion